Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. Sorry we weren't with you yesterday. For everybody in the U.S. who celebrated Labor Day, we're here. It's September 6th. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that it's September already. Summer is over. Nick is depressed. Doug is depressed. It's really depressing. But anyway, we're gonna bring you some pretty big action today because if unless some of you guys didn't know, within the last hour we've had a massive sell off of Bitcoin. Ethereum closely followed it. The cusp of moving into the 18,000s is upon us with 19,000 support holding strong. We'll discuss a little about the VGX thing that has been playing out. A few people giving me flack on Twitter, so I'm gonna talk about that. And then Doug is really gonna hit us down with what's going on economically wise because the energy crisis in Europe just seems to be only getting worse, with no real happy ending in sight. So, with that being said, I'm joined with Nick, our director of research over at Trade the Chain, and Doug, the everyday guy, my colleague over there. What we're going to do is, Nick, do you mind taking us through what has happened, particularly in the last hour with this ugly chart?
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and start with U.S. equities, which to start the day, let's go ahead and get this chart set up for everybody. So equities opened right around here over the weekend, slightly moved higher, ended up careening back down to where they started on Sunday, or I guess where they ended on Friday is probably a better way to say it. And then we broke beneath the lows and quickly recovered with a few wicks to get back above the lows, and now we're hovering around there. So equities have, there is some bullish divergence forming, but I would say this is definitely a weak chart. If you watch the Trade the Chain daily video, you know that it closed below where we wanted it to close, which was 39.20 at minimum, 39.30 in a good case. So in my opinion, if this is more likely to break down than not, we could see a candle kind of hover back up to maybe 39.30 before coming back down, but we've got a large gap. It's not looking good for equities in my opinion, and the European energy crisis is clearly, I think, to blame. We also have Jerome Powell speaking Thursday, so potentially some front run on hawkish anticipation, so that could also be it. We are at where you would expect prices to try and reverse. Clearly it did try. It seems to be failing. I'm not bullish equities, but I'm also not shorting. I would not viciously short this area as well, considering just how much of a haircut risk just took. So definitely thinking that equities making new lows, had something to do with Bitcoin also making new lows. At least locally, and when we're saying new lows, we're talking in the local time frame, not on the overall broad time frame. So as equities were making new lows, Bitcoin was ping-ponging around, continually rejected by both the VWAP and the POCs, which are two kind of hard line measurements that we use for basing around price action. I don't think, I did say earlier today on the Trade the Chain daily show that 19K would be an initial target. We clearly nailed that to perfection, a slight wick down to 18.9. But if you were trading short based on what we had mentioned on the daily show, you had a 2% gain? Oh, that's date range. Come on. I think it's about a 2 to 3% drop. There you go. Yeah, over 3. So there you go. So very big move there. If we zoom out, to look at where we are back towards the equal lows of early July and mid-July. This was obviously our big drop in June down to 17.6. So one would, usually expect, some sort of rise back up after this big of a fall. There is, we do still have some bullish divergence here. But of course, we know that, well, if you watch our shows, you will know that we have to wait for candle confirmation on this. We basically need another candle to close above this trend line, and the RSI has to stay above this trend line. Then that would be bullish divergence. Bullish divergence would likely bring us back to 19.5, 19.7, maybe 20K. If that's the case, if we can get above 20K, then that would be a big old swing failure pattern. We'd move higher. If we can't, if we consolidate around 19K and cannot get above 19.5, 19.7, then I would expect us to move back down probably towards 18K. I don't think that 18K is as special of a number just because we didn't have really any trading around it. We slightly had a small range here, but we did drop to that 17.7, 17.6, 17.8 area. So if 19K was to fail, really actually 18.7, 18.8K is to fail, I would probably suggest that we head back towards the equal lows for Bitcoin, but I don't think it's ever going to be that easy as it was when we had the 3AC debacle. ETH is basically trading in this giant channel thing due to the merge. So, I mean, this is pretty easy visually. If you would expect consolidation here and it to bust back up towards 1660, hopefully 1700, or you would expect it to break below this, break below the 50-day moving average and the 100-day moving average and start moving back towards these lows and break out of that range. Again, like I said, I think it's too easy for us to just slice through. More volatility, I'm going to guess, is welcome. I would probably not trade this slice and look for something higher. And coincidentally, if you were watching the daily show, then you would have traded this to perfection as well, because we said a rejection off the 200-day was likely. And we did say that this was basically a golden cross front run, as you can see here. Typically, it front runs before it touches. Typically, it'll run back and touch the actual cross before making a further decision. Typically, if we see a pretty strong rejection off of this, we do end up slicing back lower with some volatility in between. So something to watch out for. Stock RSI still has a long ways to go. If this was to fully come off, you can see, last time it did similar though. It only came back down to the equal low zone. That's why I say, especially within this channel with the merge coming up, I'm not trading a slice through just yet. And Alex and I were talking, and I did say 19K would probably act as strong support in the near term, just because, in my opinion, based on how the market makers stuffed us into this multi-week, or I think about a week or more of this little tight trading range, it just seems too easy for us to just crash and slice. I would expect more volatility, more trickery, market makers trying to take people's money. A fun asset that I think everybody should probably look at if they are bearish is Ethereum Classic, which has gotten a pretty massive trade thanks to the Ethereum merge, because the idea is that hash power is going to go to Ethereum Classic whenever Ethereum switches to proof of stake. You can see here, if you're trading, ETH or Bitcoin or whatever, and you're trying to trade back to the lows, I mean, that's a fat drop considering where we were in mid-July. So it's not exactly, I'm saying that we're going to have a 50% drop, but I'm saying if ETH shows weakness and something happens with the merge, this is a fantastic coin to short with an extremely high beta compared to ETH. So definitely something to look at, I think, if you're looking for kind of a high volatility play.
Was that it?
Yes.
There was no like ending crescendo to that. It was just like...
No, I'm sorry. I usually Bitcoin and ETH, and I will typically throw in one more asset. So
you were very, I mean, he's all about business today. When the markets are acting like they are, Nick is in a very different mood than on an average market day. So you can't blame the guy. One question I want to ask before I just go over the macro socials real quick, Nick. ADA, Cardano and Vasic asked this in the chats. Cardano has always been like this big up and coming contender for Ethereum. And we've been hearing about a lot about Cardano and how it's going to take over Ethereum for, let's go back a year and a half, right? A lot of hype around it. Last year, a lot of projects supposedly started building on it. We had launch pads for Cardano, so forth and so on. The thing is that Cardano really, I feel, missed their easiest opportunity to grab market share on Ethereum by really not, how do you say it, evolving as quick as it could have. Now that Ethereum is actually coming through with with its long delayed Ethereum 2, and we got the merge coming up shortly. Is this going to put Cardano behind the 8 ball in your opinion?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing in relation to the L1 wars, and especially talking about Cardano, is I read this, I think it was late 2020 or early 2021 by Packy McCormick, and I really liked the way he was thinking about things. But basically, his thesis was that interoperability would win long term, like basically separating in a decentralized ecosystem, separating yourself from everybody is a surefire way to die. Because the whole point of decentralization is it's all Legos to some degree. It might be different chains, it might be different ecosystems, but at the end of the day, if I want to go from Solana to ETH, or I want to use ETH assets on Solana and vice versa, I have the ability to do that. And that creates a larger, intersect of Venn diagram between ecosystems and the ability to seamlessly move in and out of them. Now, ADA, as far as I know right now, and I don't know what their future plans are, but that doesn't seem to be a very core ethos of the way that they want to move forward. And I think that's probably going to be the bane of ADA. I'm not going to touch on the lack of infrastructure and actual scalability yet, but we're just going to talk about the fact that ADA is not working with Ethereum. ADA is not working with Solana. ADA is not working with Atom. I mean, there is no interoperability there. And if you're going to move into a decentralized ecosystem where we're forced by either the risk association of, having an opportunity to go to different networks, or just the understanding of how things work together in the grander ecosystem, if ADA doesn't have that, then I can't be truly bullish on it long term. I think you look at Atom pumping and a few of these other L2s, like they're priding themselves on pulling market share from others, gathering developers, but also the connection to the ecosystems. People are bullish on Atom because current ETH and ERC20 assets and protocols are moving to Atom because it has the ability to do so. If you can just rip others from other protocols because yours fits and molds together so well, that's the easiest way to pull market share. It's just, hey, you click 2 buttons and your fees are reduced by 99%. Why wouldn't I move? Nobody can do that for ADA yet, and I don't know of any plans to do that moving forward. I would love to be enlightened if anyone in the chat is understanding what I'm saying and has the proof and the pudding to put forth. But interoperability is the key word, and it's been the key word since 2019. That was why we had such massive bull runs between the interoperability trades and things like that. So I think that's still going to be the focal point, moving forward, even as things grow.
Yeah, I agree. And to Garda's point, EVN does make it easy as well. So, all right, let's take a look at the macro socials right now. I mean, it's really no surprise here looking at who's number one on the hottest on Twitter. VGX up 406%. Price action trailing 24 hours, 42% to the upside. And then, of course, number two, the same as Nick was saying earlier. Ethereum Classic, ETC up 310% in socials, up 4% in the trailing 24 hours, followed by Ravencoin RVN. We also have HNT, Helium, but this one isn't popular on social media for something good. This is popular on social media and is getting negative sentiment because of its market cap basically halving in the last month from about $1 billion to $500 million. And there's a lot of people that have been riding the HNT wave, but now it's beginning to hit the fan, so to speak. Going down to the most bullish coins, we got Ethereum Classic leading the way, followed by Raven, ENS, KSM, CRV. And then on the negative side, we have the most bearish coins for the day, Theta, really bad score of 11. And then HNT, we spoke about earlier, with a score of 20, XLM rounding it out with the 33. Going over to the coins page, we are down. I mean, we're down across the board. It was the last hour particularly was a bloodbath to the bearish direction. And we'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I know that there are some bulls in the playpen. A lot of them thinking that we're going to hop out of this at a rapid rate, but we'll see. Doug, I want to go to you before I get to the VGX trade. What's happening? We got more problems with the European crisis going on. Literally a whole gas supply line being shut off, more or less, and really looking at some really bad economics going forward for the everyday guy. What's your take?
We spoke about this before. Everybody comes back from Labor Day. They kind of take the summers off. It gets kind of quiet vol-wise. We're kind of at an inflection point here with these markets. You look at the 10-year, big move up today. S&P was just hanging at 3,900 recently. That's a big spot that people are looking at. It just did bounce off of that. But if the 10-year should break through any further, we're testing now the 3 months highs. We're definitely looking at 7% mortgages, right? We're now looking at, in terms of the people on the street, how many people know about the term globalism or imperialism? Like, these are just times that we have never seen. We're now hearing chatter of a war between Turkey and Greece. Like, when you think about like all the crap that's going on, like, we're talking about potentially the US may have to stand down with this Ukraine-Russia situation to avoid all of Europe going into a massive depression and basically a currency crash, right? So we've never had that recently, basically, as an imperialist power, right? So that, talk about egg on our face, like, that's a big deal for the US. So what happens with that situation if we still support Ukraine in their arms effort? What does that mean, like you said, for the pipeline flowing in terms of gas to Europe? Are they going to have to significantly cost? What it cut back? What does that look like? Or is the US going to have to stand down? So we are getting closer to this inflection point with the 10-year, with the S&P. Obviously, we're seeing Bitcoin today starting to crack a little bit. So this is what we've been waiting for. This is going to be either a generational buy. If this Ukraine, Russia, Europe situation does get remedied somehow in the next 30 days, but it's all going to start happening, right? Like, we're going to see this market, all these markets start to melt down, or this is going to be one monster rally and the shorts are going to get squeezed. But now we are seeing so much politically, geopolitically going on in Europe, forgetting about China and Taiwan. Even that's been thrown to the back burner, right? But yeah, it's really all starting to happen right now. It's getting a little bit scary, quite honestly.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Nick and Doug, but for me, I have seen a household electricity bill go from around $350, $380 a month to well over $500. So, it's beginning to hit home in the first person for some. Have you guys noticed things? I mean, obviously, besides the grocery. Well, I don't know. Nick, do you eat anything but Chipotle, or do you go to grocery shopping?
He doesn't.
I do a mix. I have Trader Joe's under me, so that's nice. But
what
I
are
actually
those
don't
prices
like
looking like?
He eats McDonald's.
He does not. He posts pictures of him in the gym all the time. He's not eating McDonald's.
Yeah, but he's doing like one meal a day.
I did have McDonald's this weekend. I will admit that. I treat myself at least once, but I do intermittent fasting. Like, I don't eat breakfast. I do a smoothie at lunch, and then that way I can eat whatever the heck I want for dinner, which includes a lot of junk food late night too. So,
well, have you seen the prices in Trader Joe's go up significantly at all? Or
I haven't noticed. Honestly, no, because Trader Joe's is actually very cost effective compared to other grocery stores. So I actually find myself shocked at the low prices in Trader Joe's, to be honest with you. But then again, I mean, maybe this sounds pompous and very douchey, but like, I haven't looked at groceries in a very long time and had to be like economical about it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Maybe more recently I'm always still, every time I go grocery shopping, I always still do the math to do every price per unit. So it's something from being back broke when I was in college, like always do the quick math of whatever price I'm getting per unit, and always getting the best deal. But other than that, I typically just throw shit in the cart. And I'm like, what? It's the same thing with gas. It's like, what am I going to do? Not fill up my car? what
Yeah.
am I going to do? Not get food to eat, So it's just one of those things where you have to swipe no matter what.
Yeah, gas. I've seen in my area. I mean, besides the $6 cauliflower, which I find ridiculously expensive, and I only eat that with like melted cheese on top, or I'd be thin. Nobody really likes cauliflower without any, things on it. But gas is down to like 94 cents a liter, which is a big deal. It was up at a dollar 30 a liter just a month and a half ago. So, I know that I was speaking with Doug the other week, and this may be a weird conversation for some, but not for Doug and I. And he was complaining about Jersey Mike subs going up about, I think it was about 4 or 5%. And, it's a big deal to some, especially when that lunchtime sandwich starts outpacing your hourly wage. You start losing money. All right. So I am 369 for gas in Phoenix. I'm moving to Phoenix.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just over 5 in California, or in LA, which I thought was good. Well,
Really?
it depends on where you go in LA. Literally, you go two blocks down Santa Monica, and like you start to get in the Beverly Hills area, gas literally goes up $1. It's crazy.
Of course, because they think you're Arnold Schwarzenegger or Bruce Willis.
Yeah, exactly.
You got that fancy big old freaking desert animal killer that you drive.
Yeah,
so.
Dude. Don't remind me with a brand new front bumper.
All right, guys. I'm gonna get into the VGX trade. Obviously, I was a little bit of poking some fun on the title of the show, and the thing is, and this is what it is. Okay. One is, you get people come back. They're like, oh, why would you're investing in Voyager and it's a bankrupt company and all this stuff, or why are you shilling VGX? So I don't give a crap. I trade opportunity. Voyager, VGX happened to be an opportunity just because so many people emotionally attached to it, myself and some people on this program as well. Doesn't mean that if I come out and said I was going to, the Chili's trade or the ADA trade, that all of a sudden people are going to say, I'm dating freaking Charles or something. So just because I was a customer, or still am, I suppose, a customer of the platform, and I've had, people from Voyager on my show over the years, doesn't mean any of that crap. I'm not emotional about this. I will buy and sell into and out of VGX as I see fit, as long as it creates arbitrage opportunity. That's what I do. That's what the majority of us do. So that's why I said trade is not a love letter. A doorman in New York City at a nightclub told me that once. He said a guest list is not a love letter. Just because you get on it doesn't mean you guys are dating. So that's the same with VGX. Listen, I'll be honest. I explained it last week, 4 or 5 days ago when I got into it. This is where I saw the trade happening. I'd been talking about it for 3 weeks with a close circle about this trade. It actually had some money in it at 26 cents. It jumped prematurely to our execution. We were actually going to execute about 12 hours after that jump from 26 to 50 something cents. But I had low 5 figures in it going into that. I was very happy with the jump. Felt I lost some alpha. Started recalculating what we thought. This is an event-driven trade. This has nothing to do with fundamentals. Don't care about how many accounts are funded. Don't care about how much revenue is being made. We're trading on the news. And so for us, there was very little downside risk as we talked it out for a couple of weeks of news. No black swan events that were going to happen. And for us, there was nothing but upside. There's a bunch of qualified bidders that are putting their bids in today. Probably have already done so or are almost finishing up. I don't know. Some people have come to me and asked, when are they going to announce it? Well, here's the thing. They may not announce anything. They may announce the whole thing. They may announce part of the qualified bidder process of what happened today, or they may not, and they may not announce anything. One is I traded into what I consider a multi-leg trade. The first leg of this trade was today's announcement, right? Everybody knows what day is coming today. It is the qualified bidder selection day. So we all know that there are actually some qualified bidders. Voyager was the first stalking horse. After today, they're going to be replaced with one of these qualified bidders as a stalking horse. So I traded into the news today. We made almost double the money, right? We have consolidation. We have the Bitcoin market, and we've consolidated, and we've leveled out. We have a good strength range of where VGX is right now. What's the second part? The second part is, whether we hear anything today or not, we have next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be the winning bidders selection announcement. Okay, that's going to be huge. That's going to let everybody know what is going to happen with Voyager. Is it going to be, a lot of people worried about VGX surviving and all that. Again, my trade is not in tandem with that information. I don't care on this particular trade if VGX lives on or not. I do in my Voyager portfolio where I have a lot of it, but not on this trade. The chances of somebody coming in, and let's say Binance gets announced, this thing's going to rip. I mean, it doesn't matter. You saw it rip 100% on the leaked news last week. If something like that happens, it's going to do it again. This is just merely event-driven. I'm not rooting for anybody at Voyager. I'm not rooting for Voyager, and I'm not rooting for VGX per se on this trade as it pertains to this trade. I'm rooting for them on a different subject, which is everybody getting their money back as they go through this bankruptcy process, okay? But this is a non-emotional trade. Look at Nick in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You see that guy showing any emotion? He trades all day long. He's like the Terminator. He doesn't care. So that's all I'm saying. Thank you, Lucas, for that. And there's a lot of work that gets put behind when we select trades. This happened to be a really big one that made sense, and it was spoken out with a lot of people. So, but this happens all the time. The next one's going to have nothing to do with Voyager, and the one after that, and so forth and so on. So don't get all in my DMs or replying to my tweets with something like, how am I supporting a bankrupt company going to, I'm just trading, guys. I don't care.
I would add to that, Alex. That's how sentiment trading works, in the sense that as something starts to appreciate, the sentiment picks up, and then people are like, well, what's the news, right? It's going up or down, right? Like, what's going on with this, right? And sentiment can be self-fulfilling, right? It could just keep building on itself.
100%.
And then you get price action, right? So there could be no news, but if one guy thinks another guy thinks what another guy thinks, and they all keep tweeting, that's what we do here, right? The tie takes that data, quantifies it, and again, the more tweets creates volume, creates price action. There you go, and you have a winning trade. Like you said, it could be any token for that matter, but that's what sentiment does. That's why we offer this.
And and let me tell you something. Sentiment played a big role of it. I mean, the way this is on the daily sentiment on a one-day snapshot, but when we went to a larger time span on the hourly snapshot, sentiment was a big role in how we saw Voyager triggering to various news effects or various social effects, people either hating on it, people liking on it. It was an important part of our trade, and that's how we trade, right? Because we don't have fundamental analysis going for us in this case. We have a bankrupt company, okay, that's going through an auction bidding process or possible restructure depending on the outcome. This didn't have anything to do with profits, revenue, number of users, any of that stuff. This had to do all on sentiment because, again, this is an event-driven trade. So yeah, that was that. I just wanted to clarify some crap on that. But yeah, it was a freaking home run. All right, that's it. Anybody else want to chime in?
No, I think it was a great trade. I didn't take it personally. I even though I was expecting that rotation up and down, it was one of those things where I was not trying to take any chances in the bullish direction. Probably should have, but it was one of those. I just wasn't buying the bull narrative, and then we got that spike, and clearly everything just got washed very quickly. So the market scams us yet again. What are you to do?
Yeah, and the same thing, and honestly, the same thing will occur if BTC breaks down from 19 to 15 here. Once it starts building up, people are going to be like, "What's news on BTC?" Right? And again, it just could be people just bearish, and then all that just accumulates, and then you get a price dump, right? So
yeah, I mean, right now we're 19. Let's call it 1950, right? I mean, we wicked down on BTC to 18,893. We're in some crazy territory right here. You know, we've spoken. It is the 6th of September. We've spoken about the bottom happening during a certain period. You know, I'm still. I don't know if the sands have shifted in your guys' eyes. I'm still for the end of September to the beginning in November. That bottoming happening during that time period. And so far, the market has been playing it out. You know, Nick, he was our guy through the relief rally, you know, towards mid-end of summer. And then here we are. This is where, you know, the rubber meets the road. This is where the opportunity is going to be. And really all we need coming, you know, as Doug mentions every day, is we need some sort of action in the EU economy to really kind of turn around. It doesn't have to turn around that much. It just has to turn around a little and shorten this energy crisis, shorten the economic crisis. I mean, we had the euro fall to 99 cents in parity to the dollar for the second time this summer, which is the first time in freaking, I don't know, I think it was 20 years. That's ridiculous. It's cheaper for us to go play in Europe for a little bit right now.
Well, markets need a catalyst, right, to go up and down, up or down, and we're about to get one, right? Either way with this situation. So we're really, like you said, we're hanging on a thread here with all these levels. I mean, it's literally coming down to this month. This is going to be an extraordinary month for people to either make money or lose money. That's for sure. So
yeah, and everybody needs to. It's going to be a whipsaw too. So you know, everybody just needs to watch out and pay attention to what they're doing, because the directional changes are going to be fierce. So with that being said, a couple things I want to say. Don't forget Daily Show with Nick every day. Best 15 minutes you could spend around noon Eastern time. Also, the TTC AMA is out on this channel right here, so go take a look at that. That's from last week. We have another one coming up tomorrow, as well as Twitter Spaces. We got KNC, Kyber Networks, in Twitter Spaces this coming Thursday, and it's actually going to be late because their team is based out of Singapore. So we'll be doing that around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday with Kyber Networks, KNC, and I'm going to steal the Vasic's words, man. Hands are touching the handlebars now. This is the way it's going to go. So hang on to them.
White knuckle time. Hold on.
White knuckle time, baby. Thanks for joining us, folks. You know, ask all the questions you want in the comments or the DMs, or hit us up on social, or if you're a Trade Chain member in our Discord channel. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon. Bye.